Flintlock Siege of Dawn is almost a decent game. I've seen nothing but hate for this game online, being on social media, YouTube, X, whatever. I like to see for myself. There's a lot of people that'll jump on the hype train when games like these come out, and I'm just not one of those dudes.
Flintlock has an identity crisis.
How's it going? It's Hesh from No Frills. I recently had the unfortunate displeasure of spending some time with Flintlock Siege of Dawn. While the game isn't as terrible as some may say, it's far from good. Ultimately, there was one thing that made me drop this game. Let's get into it. They say that looks aren't everything, but everyone knows that we eat with our eyes first. Graphics have been a key selling point in the gaming industry for almost the entirety of its existence. Once upon a time, we used to have little more than a paragraph and a couple screenshots in a magazine to base our purchasing decisions on, so it had to look good. People have been railing against the main character, Nor, saying that she's super ugly. Well, I don't think she's that ugly. She's certainly not pretty, but she's not abhorrent or anything. I don't think she's nearly as bad as folks are making her out to be. The graphics in Flintlock aren't the best I've ever seen, but they aren't the worst either. They're a bit bland and uninspired, but they're not terrible. Overall, it really feels like they phoned it in and kind of played things a bit close to the safe line here. This is where Flintlock begins to show its cracks. It's almost like the art director and team just started mashing things together, pulling aesthetic bits and bobs from various games and assembling them into something they'd call new. It's a game alright, and you can tell there's absolutely no suspension of disbelief here. This is where the game truly starts to fall apart. It looks alright, but it feels like shit. Now, I did have some fun running around the levels a bit, playing with the double jump and the dash abilities. Those are pretty cool, you can change direction mid-air, etc. But nothing felt smooth, not even the sprinting. I spent 2 hours streaming this game, and I wasn't sure if the additional strain on my system contributed to the input lag I was experiencing, or maybe it's the game. I played with both a wired and a wireless keyboard. I played streaming, I played just recording, I played it by itself. The experience didn't change at all. Perhaps it's by design, but there really seems to be some issues with animation cancels and blending. Your mileage may vary. That said, this was billed as a Souls-like, Souls-light, whatever. That's a game where timing is critical, and this just does not cut it. Well, that's not a total deal breaker, right? I mean, it just takes a little bit of getting used to. Gotta learn the timings, right? No. Simply put, the target lock is broken. Perhaps this is by design, but I hate it. You can middle click your mouse to lock on a target. That's simple enough, sure. But the problem arises when another enemy comes into range. Your lock will change targets on its own without your input, regardless of what you're trying to do. This is really bad, as it ruins any of the tactical decisions that you made in the moment by altering your pivot points while you're evading and attacking. It will get you killed. You already have the ability to change targets manually by scrolling the wheel, so why the hell did they do this? I actually stopped playing because of this very issue. It becomes such a source of frustration for me, and is a direct result of the larger problem that I have with Flintlock. No, I'm not referring to SBI or DEI or EIEIO. Flintlock wants action. They've obviously set up your character to move swiftly. You can change directions mid-air, mantle, climb, you've got your dash or double jump. They replaced the grappling hook with some sort of void portal system thing. That was actually pretty cool, I liked that. The problem though, is the implementation. Why on earth would you add Souls-like combat to a game with such an attempt at a fluid character? The pacings are completely at odds with one another, and it's frustrating. Add that broken target lock, you're gonna have a bad time. I did have some fun with Flintlock when it did what I wanted it to do. I think a lot of the hate is a little bit overblown with all the DEI garbage. I get it for sure, and I can totally see it in this one. When I was paying attention, which I really wasn't for the most part, the story was so uninteresting, I completely ignored it, and I very rarely do that. It really feels like they just try to mash a bunch of concepts together and call it a game. The art direction's boring and uninspired, aside from the fox and the witch things you find in those coffee shops. The story was pretty lame from what little I paid attention to, and the gameplay was just clunky, a little bit buggy, and it really doesn't know what it is. I wanted to give this game a fair shot, so I did. I'm sitting at 4.9 hours on Game Pass currently, and I would have played through the entire game were it not for that broken target lock. I just could not look past that. I would call this a really good prototype for what could be a solid game. It just needs a ton of work on everything. Flintlock just doesn't have enough going for it in any particular area to keep me playing or entice me to get good. That said, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one.
How's it going? It's Hesh. If you liked what you saw even a tiny bit, do me a favor, shoot me a like and a sub, and if you're feeling awfully generous, give me a share, man. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.